I'm Richie Suave Flores.
And I'm Corey Crenshaw.
And this is Sporty with Corey and Richie Suave.
Floater, center field. The Diamondbacks are world champions.
Down is the motion man. Little flip to Fitzgerald. He scores. And the Cardinals win an amazing game.
Mikhail Bucker with a chance. He walks in. He scores. Mikhail Bucker for the second straight game is the hero.
Welcome back in, Sporty Nation. If I'm correct, this is episode number 20. Yes, it is. We've finally hit the big 2-0. It's really exciting, and we've got some really good stuff, as always, for you on this episode. We are going to be talking about Larry Fitzgerald and his contract extension, as well as something that fired up Richie quite a bit the other day, and I definitely know he cannot wait to get his anger out on this one.
Yes, I've calmed down quite a bit since then, but we definitely have to get into this. Paul Goldschmidt finishing third in the MVP voting, so be careful. I might be dropping some F-bombs like I was earlier this week, but so this is episode 20. Next week is episode 21, which means the show can drink next week.
Does that mean we can drink on the show?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Ooh.
That is absolutely encouraged.
Sporty Nation, tell us what drinks you want us to drink during the show. Let's see here. Let's give a couple recommendations here. Richie likes White Russians. Richie hates Coors Light or any Buds, any of those. So please recommend that Richie drink Bud or Coors.
Corey, I was drinking Coors Light last week because it was free.
Yeah, see? You are not a true bougie beer drinker. You will settle when it's free.
I cheat once in a while.
Uh-huh. The real bougie ones won't settle for the free. You're not a true bougie beer drinker.
Oh, Corey. That's not true.
Mm-hmm. Although I have seen that you did pay for I think it was a Coors, or Bud, can't remember which one it was, at a baseball game.
I will deny that to the end of time. That is fake news.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. Snapchat doesn't lie.
Oh, jeez. There's pictures out there of me drinking Coors Light, isn't there?
Mm-hmm. There are.
Son of a bitch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I guess we have to move on from this so that way your agony can end of all of the truth-telling that I am giving all of Sporty Nation. So why don't we start with Larry Fitzgerald to end your suffering?
Yes. Future Hall of Famer Larry Fitzgerald. Something that makes me very happy because Larry Fitzgerald has been on The Freaks a couple times. Awesome dude. Really cool guy. A lot of fun.
Very good man and very good for the community. All the women love him. Everything is just always on the up and up about Larry Fitzgerald. So
yes, but like you mentioned at the top, he is in the news this week because he did indeed sign a 1-year contract extension that will go through the end of 2018. It's going to pay him $11 million, which is the same amount Fitzgerald made in each of the past 2 seasons, and there is an opportunity for him to earn more if he meets certain incentives. Now, there are a couple caveats to this, which is just because he signed the extension doesn't necessarily mean that he's officially coming back for next year. That's kind of been the big talking point, is most people seem to assume that he's coming back. That when I saw this news, I think, oh, well, he's probably coming back. But Larry hasn't said it yet himself. So we haven't heard from him saying, I'm coming back for 2018 yet.
He's still considering retirement. But you have to consider all of the factors in it. Obviously, the Cardinals will be going through a quarterback change this next season. So they could definitely use someone like Fitz in order to rein that new quarterback in. And then 2, he is just 868 yards behind T.O. for second place in reception yards and 5 touchdowns behind Antonio Gates for 6th of all time. So he has some records that he's super close to breaking.
Mm-hmm.
So that one extra year could get him those records that he wants. But when he is asked about it, he says that he actually does not care about his personal accolades, which is something that speaks to him and his character in general. But what means the most to him is that Super Bowl dream. So it's more of a team accolade, and he's only played in 1 Super Bowl, considering the fact that his 14-season career has been with the Cardinals.
Yeah.
He's 34 and was drafted in 2004 by them. And, you know, he's had a stellar career here, so obviously that's why the Cardinals never let go of him. But at the same time, he's only gotten that one opportunity to go to the Super Bowl. But I don't know if he feels like this next season they would be able to do that. I don't think in this next season they would be able to. But so I think if he was to come back, it would be to coach the new guy and to be a veteran leader on this team and to break some records.
That's why I think in a way it's kind of a mistake for Larry to come back. Now, there's no doubt about it in my mind, and if you watch him play, he's 700 yards this year, 3 touchdowns, 60 receptions, on pace for another 1,000-yard season, and maybe close to 80, 90 receptions. He's maybe 36, 37, 38 years old, but he's not playing like it. So he certainly still has 3 or 4 years left in the tank to play at a high level. But the thing with him is I'm kind of scared he's going to pull a Shane Doan, I guess, in a way, and stick around too long. Because you remember Shane had that 20-plus goal season a couple of years ago. Then he came back and he had one of the worst seasons of his career in his final season. And it ended on a bad note.
However, think about what he was able to accomplish. He had some of the biggest records when it came to assists and games that he played. He was on the ice for, they were handing him out things, at least 5 games before the game had started. Yeah. Whether it was something that they were doing to thank him or if it was some record he was breaking. But I mean, I get where you're coming from on that. But at the same time, I think he's going to be a Hall of Famer. There's no doubt about that. So, I mean, why not just make yourself look a little bit better and be around to be that veteran leadership that, once Palmer's gone, it's going to
kind of be the bridge, kind of.
Yeah, he's going to be able to be that glue that can kind of put that back together because it's going to be hard. There's not going to be that veteran leadership.
And Bruce Arians is more than likely probably finished after this season, too, even though he's come out and denied it on Twitter because there was a report from a local reporter, Craig Fouie, came out and said that Bruce Arians was retiring at the end of the season, which was then refuted by every other major reporter. And then Bruce Arians on Twitter said, no, that's not true. I'm not done yet. And I don't believe it for a second. I still think he's probably going to retire. It's going to suck to see him go. But
I mean, you look at that. You mentioned the Coyotes. Think about where the Coyotes are at right now after they've gotten rid of all of their veteran leadership and they had a new coach, and think about how hard they're struggling right now. Yeah. You need one of those key people. Obviously, the Coyotes kept OEL, but obviously OEL isn't doing what he needs to be doing. Yeah, he doesn't. He's not doing what he needs to be doing. And Fitz is that type of person that can really bridge this team into where they need to go for the future. So I would really trust in him for that.
Yeah, the thing that sucks too is, from Larry's perspective, if he's just gunning for that Super Bowl, it's not going to happen with the Cardinals. And he's already put up these numbers. He's already a Hall of Famer. So other than being that leader, he really doesn't have anything to gain. So I guess what I'm really worried about is that by playing that extra season, he's going to get himself hurt. Now, Larry Fitzgerald has been the pinnacle of health for his entire career. I don't think he's missed that many games. I don't think he's had any major injuries. But they're just like that fear in the back of my mind that he's going to get himself hurt and it's going to end on a bad note. And I have that fear that I don't want it to end badly for him here. I want for him to end his career on a as high a note as it can. It's not going to end in a Super Bowl, but I don't want him to have him get hurt or have him come back next year and the team be 1-15.
Way to be a negative Nancy. You were being a negative Nancy. Did you kill your best friend? Did you send your best friend to the Demogorgon? Because you are being a negative Nancy right now. Sorry, a little Stranger Things joke in there. But let's not go completely south and just assume that he's going to get injured.
I never said I was assuming that he was just injured. It's just a fear. It's like the Demogorgon. I fear the Demogorgon, and I fear that Larry Fitzgerald is going to get hurt.
Well, Fitz, I really hope you don't get hurt and you come back for another season and everything ends off on a good note. But I understand where you're coming from, Richie, that the last thing you want to do is end a career that has been so amazing as his on a sour note, because it's not the way that his career is meant to go out.
And we're not going to end this segment on a sour note, because coming up next, we're going to get into Paul Goldschmidt. But first, let's take a jaunt into Corey's Corner.
Hello, everyone, and welcome into my corner this week. There's something very important I wanted to talk to you guys about, and it has to do with USA gymnastics, and more importantly, Aly Raisman, who had come out that she had been abused by a former U.S. team doctor, and obviously that is alone such a hard thing to come out about and to accuse someone of, and it's hard, it's traumatizing in the beginning, just being a victim, but then having to speak about publicly is one of the hardest things. But she is using it for such a great cause and trying to come to people and let people know that victim shaming is not the direction that any of this stuff should be going in. Just to be clear, just because a woman does a sexy photo shoot or wears a sexy outfit does not give a man the right to shame her or not believe her when she comes forward about sexual abuse. What is wrong with some of you? And when a woman dresses sexy, it does not give a man the right to sexually abuse her ever. Women are allowed to feel sexy and comfortable in their own skin. In fact, I encourage you all to wear what you feel good in. I will not put up with any woman or girl being shamed for wanting to wear a skirt, dress, etc. I do not tolerate it. Are we clear? Oh, and one more thing. Stop victim shaming. It is because of you that so many survivors live in fear. And her coming forward was so brave and helps so many people who are victims come forward. And this situation should be, in a sense, and something that we can not really celebrate. That's not the word I'm looking for, but something that we can come forward and be like, if you are a victim, be able to come forward. It is not something that you should be holding back, because these things need to be stopped and people need to know about them. And it's really hard when someone is trying so hard to help people who have gone through the same things that she has and be so upfront about it, when your own teammate says, however, it is our responsibility as women to dress modestly and be classy. Dressing in a provocative/sexual way entices the wrong crowd. You just went completely off base. Not only did you insult someone who's going through a traumatic time, but you also didn't support your teammates, which is always the point of being a teammate. Hello, look up the word. Don't be a dumbass. And two, you just insulted so many women who have gone through such a hard time when it comes to sexual harassment and sexual abuse. There is never a right time to ever say that what a woman should or should not wear, and that she ever deserves anything because of what she has worn. It does not give anyone the right to do something like that. And the fact that you would even suggest that is horrible, and to do it to a teammate nonetheless who is going through a traumatic time, I can't even understand it. But that is all I have for my corner today. Thank you.
Okay, everybody, it is now time for me to get angry on the show. If you have kids in the room, be careful. There might be some expletives dropped in the next 10 minutes or so, because I, like many Diamondbacks fans, got a bit angry this week when I saw the final results of the Most Valuable Player Award in the National League. Giancarlo Stanton won, which I guess wasn't too surprising. But Joey Votto finished second in the closest vote, one of the closest votes in the history of the MVP voting. And Paul Goldschmidt finished a distant third, more than basically 60 points behind Giancarlo and Joey Votto. Goldschmidt only got 4 first-place votes and 5 second-place votes. And this made me really freaking angry, because here's the thing. Joey Votto and Giancarlo Stanton played on 2 garbage freaking baseball teams. The Reds had 68 wins. The Marlins had 77. Meanwhile, Paul Goldschmidt was actually hitting in big-time situations, in big-time games, in a playoff race for a team that won the National League wild card and played in a division series. So his numbers actually mattered, unlike the other 2 jokers whose numbers essentially didn't matter.
Wasn't that what everyone was saying every year? Was, oh, well, Goldie didn't win it because his team couldn't make the playoffs, so that was the line that they were using every time. Oh, if he wouldn't have been playing for the Diamondbacks, he would have won it. Okay, well, complete opposite situation, and he loses again.
2013, he finished second to Andrew McCutchen in the NL MVP vote, and the biggest thing that was talked about then is because Andrew McCutchen's Pirates made the playoffs for the first team in 20 plus years, while Paul Goldschmidt's Diamondbacks were garbage, basically. And Goldschmidt had just as many decent numbers as Andrew McCutchen. He was very deserving of the award, just like Giancarlo Stanton and Joey Votto this year. And yet, Goldschmidt lost that year. But all of a sudden, Giancarlo wins this year on a terrible team with basically only one good number, and that's because of his 59 home runs. Because his batting average wasn't that good. He hit 280 this season, had 132 runs batted in on a garbage team. Joey Votto, great, lost the Silver Slugger to Paul Goldschmidt, lost the Gold Glove to Paul Goldschmidt, and yet Paul Goldschmidt finished third in MVP voting. I don't get it.
The only thing I can say out of all of this is the same thing that I have been saying literally the entire season. Basically, when any of the other teams are doing well, it is known everywhere. But when the Diamondbacks were doing well, everyone wanted to cover it up, as if it wasn't happening. Oh, the Diamondbacks are doing well? Oh, let's not acknowledge it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Paul Goldschmidt falls into that category. He also finished second in 2015 to Bryce Harper.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's a certain point when you get enough seconds and thirds and where it becomes not like a special occurrence. It becomes almost like they're doing it on purpose. You get what I'm feeling?
It's total West Coast or East Coast bias.
It literally feels like they're shoving him. We'll just shove him right underneath, as if it's just kind of an afterthought. Oh well, he plays for the Diamondbacks.
Yeah.
How can he be an MVP? It's just I understand he had a slump in September that was rough to see,
Yeah.
but. Come on. At a certain point here, you have to give the man benefit of the doubt of the fact that he has been amazing and has been America's first baseman for how long now? So I'm getting real frustrated with it. It's kind of at the point where, and that was the amazing thing about Goldie was this season was to see him from his rookie year when they had won the division to the picture of this year. And he has matured so much. He's grown so much. And it was such like an evolutionary thing for him, and to see him go from being the rookie to being one of the leaders on this team. And in there, he has grown so much. He's done so much, yet he never gets acknowledged for it.
Yeah.
And I just think that's ridiculous.
Yeah. And I will say this too. Nolan Arenado did not finish in the top 3. I think he deserved the MVP more than Giancarlo Stanton and Joey Votto, because Nolan Arenado is one of my favorite players in all of Major League Baseball, and he too also won a Gold Glove and Silver Slugger at third base on a team that was a winning team and made it to the National League wildcard game.
Which in that wildcard game, who was the person that I was the most afraid of?
Arenado.
Them?
Yep. Exactly. So we put this on Instagram basically and said, what are your thoughts on this? A couple replies I would like to read. D-Back Days said 2 letters, BS. I agree. Rich said, that's crap.
Yeah.
Very well said. And then Monster 2444 says, and this is our feeling too, it feels like he got robbed.
I always feel like he gets robbed.
He is one of the most underrated players in Major League Baseball. Because you're right, he doesn't really get talked about as being, one of the great players, the great hitters, the great all-around players in Major League Baseball. Because you hear Giancarlo, you hear Mike Trout's name a lot, but then Paul Goldschmidt kind of gets forgotten about.
That's what I mean. I feel like the team in general gets forgotten about, and then, you have the best person on that team, and you're just like, that's okay. He just plays on that team that we don't remember anyways. Like, the entire season, it was all about the Dodgers. It really was. Yeah. Anyone on the West Coast, it was all about the Dodgers. Yeah. So, the D-backs could be doing extraordinary things, which is what they were doing this season. They get overlooked. And then, in extension, Goldie gets overlooked. I mean, we have people painting themselves gold. Head to toe, gold. I saw a woman... Head to toe gold, people. That is how much they love Goldie. How many times have you heard people scream, Goldie, Goldie gone? He is loved and adored here, yet outside of this state, no one can give a shit.
It kind of sucks. I hope he starts getting more recognition. # America's first baseman.
I totally agree with that.
Okay, everybody, it is now time to wrap up this edition of the show, our final show before we are legally able to drink on the show for our 21st episode next week. It is now time for my Dick of the Week. And this week, it is something that also makes me quite angry, much like Paul Goldschmidt finishing third in the MVP voting. It is the National freaking Hockey League, because I am so freaking sick of this league trying to shove the Chicago Blackhawks down our throats every single year on national television. Not only do they get like 50 freaking games on NBCSN every year, and it makes me sick as it is that way, but they announced this week that they're putting the Chicago Blackhawks in yet another outdoor game. They're going to be playing in the 2019 Winter Classic. Again, this is their 5th Winter Classic, if I'm not mistaken. Like, isn't there, like, Austin Matthews is a superstar in this league for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and yet you can't put them in a Winter Classic against a West Coast team like, I don't know, the Vegas Golden Knights or the Arizona Coyotes or the Anaheim Ducks. No, you have to freaking shove the Blackhawks down our throats every stinking year. Stop it! NHL, you are my Dick of the Week. Thank you so much for tuning in this week, everybody. We'll talk to you again next week. Good night and good sports, everybody.